Aloha, everyone. My name is Mike Fricano, and I'm coming to you from the beautiful state of Hawaii. It's a bright and sunny day today, but it's extremely hot and humid, so I'm indoors in the AC. And today I'm going to share with you some amazing new features that have rolled out for Google Classroom for the first day of class, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then I'm going to share some of my best tips for using Google Classroom today. I just wanted you to see me first, and I'm going to switch over to my slide deck. And if you're just joining me now, you can access my slide deck as well as a bunch of other resources by visiting the bit.ly that's in the bottom left corner of the screen here. And this link should be on every slide for the most part, so you're not going to miss it. But it's bit.ly/gclassedu. It's also in the YouTube video description as well. So feel free to visit that. I'm going to be throwing some links and some resources at you in the slide deck, and you have full access to it. It'll be available after today as well. So feel free to bookmark it, share it with your colleagues and your peers and online using the hashtag #FirstDayOfClassroom as well as hashtag #GoogleEDU. All right, so let's get into this. Let's take a look at some of the new features that have rolled out for Classroom that I'm super excited to be using myself with my students. First of all, if you're new to Classroom, it's amazing. I mean, if you haven't made that decision to start Google Classroom, hopefully I'm going to convince you today. But basically, Google Classroom allows teachers to create classes, distribute assignments, send feedback, and see everything in one place, all online. Via this amazing G Suite tool called Google Classroom. It's for the most part instantaneous. It's great for creating that paperless classroom. It's definitely really easy to get started and to use, and I'm going to show you some ways to get started today. But it's an amazing tool. I like to refer to it as a workflow management tool. It takes what you used to do with paper and pencil in the classroom, and you can digitize it and bring it online and do so much more beyond the standard paper pencil type of activities. So to get started, if it truly is your first day of Classroom, I just started school yesterday. It was the first day for students. I know a bunch of other schools across the nation and maybe even the world have started in the past week or two, and some are maybe waiting till after Labor Day, but gives you a little bit more time to get prepared. But let me just walk you through some of the very first steps you need to follow to get yourself and your students set up with Classroom. And first of all, it's creating that class. You simply go to classroom.google.com, or if you're mobile, there's a great mobile app for both iOS, iPad, and Android. But once you get into the Classroom app or the website, you have the option to create a class, and you see that displayed here in the image in the top right corner. You just look for that plus, and it allows you to both join a class or create a class. Of course, you're a teacher, so you're going to want to create that class. And once you set up that class, you can give it a name. You can attach a subject to it, a section, depending on if you teach periods or sections, or if you're just teach it once all day. Maybe you're an elementary teacher. Once you get inside, there's two ways you can get students into your classroom. You can send them an email invitation, or you can invite students to join via a class code. And for me, when I'm working with teachers on setting up their classrooms, this is my #1 recommended way to get students in, because you can do this the first 5 minutes on the first day of class. It's super easy. And one of the newest features that has rolled out for Classroom this school year is the ability to now display the class code in full screen mode, which makes it so much easier to share that code with students. And actually, there's some screenshots here, but I'm going to actually demo it for you right now in one of my practice classrooms. So once you get into your classroom, you go to the Students tab. Your class code is up here, right? But look how small it is. That's really hard to show that. Some teachers write it on the board, or maybe you can do the fancy zoom in if your laptop or your computer is connected to a projector. But there's a handy new feature built into the class code that allows you to display And that makes it even larger on the screen, and it makes it pop out. So it darkens the back, brightens up the front, and that code is a lot easier to show to your students. You can even click on this little full screen button here, and it brings this purple box, in my case, brings it full screen and fills my entire screen. Or if I have it connected to a projector, it's going to fill the whole screen on the board, which makes it so much easier to get students on board. And you just give them this code, they join the class, punch it in. It's a one-time deal. Once they punch in the code correctly, it's going to automatically populate them into your classroom under your student roster tab there, and then you are good to go. So the class code is my #1 recommended way to get students into the class there. And this is one of the great new features that has just rolled out, class code in full screen mode. Something else you might want to do, just to add a little fun and pizzazz to your classroom, is customize the header. When you create a class, it's going to give you a generic default header, but you are free to change it. There are a handful of themes you can choose from, or you can upload your own header. You see my example there. I've got a picture of delicious pizza as my header, but you can certainly create your own. And I highly recommend, if you're going to do this, check out Alice Keeler's header template. She actually created a Google Drawing template for the right perfect size for that header picture that's going to go in the box there. Her header template is linked up in the slide deck here. This is slide number 6 if you aren't caught up quite yet, but just click on that link. Takes you to Alice Keeler's blog post, and in that blog post is a link to the Google Drawing header template, which you can make a copy of. And it looks something like this. If you're familiar with Google Drawing, great place to create graphics. It gives you the proper, correct size for that header, and then you're free to change the color. You can toss in a picture. One thing I see a lot of teachers do is they'll take a picture of their class and place that as the header, and it's a great way to customize it and make the classroom space feel like it's their own for the students. But you're free to toss in whatever you want there. And then in Classroom, back on the stream, over here in the corner, you have the ability to select themes, there are some pretty amazing themes and patterns to choose from. Or you have the ability to upload a photo. And so once you're done with that Google Drawing, you just save it as an image file, a JPEG, and then download it to your computer, and then upload it from the screen here, and you can pull it straight into your header. And that's just a great way to customize and bring some life to your classroom. Okay, or maybe even let the students decide. I think one great activity for students is maybe to rotate and have a kid or a group of kids recreate the header, maybe every quarter or every month, and let them choose what they want to go up there. Give them access to the header template, let them build it, and further customize and personalize the Google Classroom experience for your students. And then getting into the real beauty and magic of Classroom is the ability to create assignments and to fully bring your workflow, your assignments, your projects, your homework all online, so that students can access it, whether they're in class, on the road, at home, or somewhere else on campus, or somewhere else in the world. But being able to bring this all online and make it easily accessible to students is what makes Classroom so amazing. And so the ability to create assignments is extremely powerful. And here, before I move on, I'm going to show you an example of an assignment and what that kind of looks like, walk you through that process. So I've got an assignment here, a very simple getting to know you activity for the beginning of the year. And what I've done is I've created a Google Doc, sort of it's got some questions that allow the students to share more information about themselves and allow me to get to know them. And one of the beauties of Classroom assignment building is this option here, right, where you can choose what kind of access you want your students to have. You can give them all the right to view the same file. You can even give them all the right to edit the same file. That'd be a great option for collaboration. But the third option is where the real magic comes into play, and that's the ability for Classroom to automatically make a copy for each student. So I can attach this Google Doc that I've set up, choose that option to make a copy for each student, and when I assign this, it's going to automatically make a copy for each of my students, as well as attach their name, the student's name, to the name of that document. So it makes it really easy for me as the teacher to identify which document belongs to who, as I'm checking their work and providing feedback and ultimately grading their assignments. And then you also have the option to differentiate to differentiate and assign work to certain sets or certain groups of students. That's through this drop-down menu here. So here you have a complete list of all of your students, no matter what kind of assignment you're creating. And rather than posting it to all students, I could say, I want just a certain, a certain group of students to receive this assignment. And then I can assign it, attach the necessary materials for that group, assign it, and then it's only going to get sent to those 4 specific students, and the rest of the class doesn't have access to it because I've only assigned it to those 4. And then, of course, I could set up the next assignment and select the next 4 group of students, and then push a separate, maybe slightly adjusted, slightly modified assignment to the next group. So this built-in student selection menu allows you to definitely differentiate and customize the work and the assignments and the projects that you want your students to complete in class. And that's what this this GIF is showing here, the ability to assign work to students or even subsets of students. And of course, with every assignment, there's the ability for the teacher to grade or to track and grade student work. So when you've blasted out that assignment, the teacher can jump into any assignment and they get a nice, clean, organized interface that allows them to filter students depending on what step in the process they are. I have a nice clean list here where I'm able to access all of the student files, and I can see whether they're done, whether they're not done, if they're late. And I even get a nice count here as well. And these are filters, right? So I could, if this, there were a certain number of students that were done, I could click on that list and it would filter. Well, I don't have any right now, right? And it just gives me the ability to really remain organized as I'm moving through this grading process with my students. Here's another amazing feature that just rolled out for Classroom, what's called the single view of students' work. And both the teacher and the student has access to this now. There was always one of the most frequently requested features among teachers has been the ability to see the progress of individual students, where they're at with each of their assignments, what grades they got, which assignments they've completed, which ones they haven't completed. And with this new individual student view, teachers are now able to do that. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So as a teacher, if I jump into my student tab here, I get a nice clean list of all my students. And if I click on the name of one of those students, it takes me to that single view. And here I get a list of all the assignments that student has received through this classroom, along with any due dates that are attached to it and what step in the process they are. So they've turned it in, if it's late, if it's received a grade, if it's missing because it's past the due date, it'll actually list all that information for me. And then these individual assignments are all linked up. So I could actually click into one, like this one that's missing. It's going to drop me in there, and it's going to take me to that specific student so that I could either shoot them a private comment about why their work is missing, or give them a grade, or jump into any attached files and provide them feedback. Oops, let me get back to that list there. Also within this single student view, you have some handy filters. So maybe I just want to see all the work that's missing. I can click on that filter, and it's only going to show me a list of work that is missing for that student. And oh boy, the student has a lot of missing work. These are fake students, by the way. But yeah, some really handy some really handy filters that allow me to further break down this list. Students have a very similar view themselves. They're able to see a list of all of their assignments by all the classes, or they can filter down to individual classes and also filter down based on what work they've turned in, what work that's been graded, and what work is currently missing for them. This is another really amazing feature that's just been rolled out for Classroom for the beginning of the school year, and that's the single view of student work for both teachers and students. Another great feature, this isn't new. It's been around for a little while, but another highly requested feature has been the ability to communicate with guardians and allow parents or guardians of students to be aware of what's going on with their child in your classroom, in terms of what grades or what assignments they're receiving, what announcements are being made, what work might be late, or what work is due soon. And so this ability to communicate with guardians can be extremely handy for for the families in your classroom. And this comes in the way of an email summary, where you can invite a parent for a particular student in your class to receive that email summary. It shoots them an email invitation, and they have to accept it, and then they get to choose whether they want a weekly or a daily summary for their child, and that comes in the form of an email in their inbox, and it'll share with them any announcements you made via Classroom, any assignments that have been created, and whether their child is late on any of those assignments, or what assignments are due soon. I can show you where that sort of starts here in the Classroom experience. So back on the Student tab, there's you have your students listed on the left, and then down the middle is the Guardian column. And here I have the ability to invite guardians by typing in their email address here, right? And then I shoot off an email invitation, and it's up to the parents to accept it. And then once they accept it, again, they have the choice. They have the option to choose whether they want a weekly or a daily email summary for their child. And this is sort of like a one-time deal. So if I invite this parent to receive email summaries for this particular student, if other teachers in the school are using Classroom and they have this little toggle switch on, then their class will automatically be included in that weekly or daily email summary for this same student. That way the parents aren't receiving multiple email summaries. They'll just receive one, which includes all of the classrooms that their child is a student in. Now, let me share with you some of my top tips, some of the things that I like to do that further customize and improve the experience for my students in my class. And the first one is, I just got through talking about the email summary for guardians. Well, I actually invite my students to be their own guardians as well. Because what that does is it allows the student to also receive that email summary, which it just helps to strengthen the communication that my students are receiving about the required work and assignments and projects that are occurring in my class. So, and the way this works is when you're in Classroom and you're inviting guardians, you can invite more than one. It's not just limited to one guardian. So I'll invite the parent as a guardian, right? And then I might add another and then invite the student as well. Oops. And then I'll actually do this during class, and I'll require and walk my students through the steps of accepting the invitation. I require them to choose the daily email summary so that they're getting that summary of what work they need to complete and what announcements have been made. They're receiving that daily in their inbox. And then their parents are receiving that exact same email. So there's less likely to be miscommunication between student, parent, and teacher, because both of them are receiving the same information, or at least they should be, right? So that's one of my tips. I actually, I work with a high school class, so I actually walk my students through the steps of inviting them as their own guardians, so that they can also receive that summary email. So I highly recommend that you give that a try. This, again, this only works if your students have access to Gmail. Sometimes that's not necessarily the case in the elementary grades, but if your students do have access to email, this is one great tip to help strengthen communication between you, your students, and your parents. Another tip, this one kind of builds off of a tip that comes from Alice Keeler. Back when Classroom was first released, one of her best tips was to number your assignments, because it just makes it easier, especially in the stream as the year progresses and posts start to fill up the stream. It becomes really difficult to find specific assignments for you and your students. But if you're numbering them, it makes it a little easier. And then on the back end, when all that work's being stored in Drive, it's a lot easier to sort files and folders in Drive if they're numbered this way. And so I'm actually building on this idea of Alice Keeler by incorporating emojis into my assignment titles as well, because we are way more visual people than we are. We are visual people, right? We like to look at things, pictures, and emojis are fun too, right? So just attaching a fun little emoji to the beginning of an assignment makes it even easier for students, and even myself as a teacher, to spot that assignment among a long stream of current and past assignments. And so just tossing in a little emoji can make it a lot. It makes it stand out a lot more, and it's also just a lot of fun, right? Especially for the younger students. And so for me as a teacher, I can say, you know what, go back and find that assignment with the robot emoji, and it makes it a lot easier for them to search for that, rather than saying, go back and find that shapes project we did a month ago, right? If they can scroll through and just skim the emojis that are attached to those assignment titles, again, a lot easier to find it. I've actually documented this process and how to do it via a YouTube tutorial video here, and it's linked up in slide 16 if you're interested in taking advantage of that. And some of you may be wondering, if you use Classroom on a computer, how do you incorporate emojis on your computer? Well, I actually use a nice Chrome extension called Emoji One, and it comes in the way of this little unicorn extension up in the corner. You can find this in the Chrome web store, of course, and it simply just gives me access to all those fun emojis that you have on your mobile device. And if I click on one, it'll drop it down in the box here, and it'll automatically copy it. And then I just use my keyboard shortcut to paste it into the assignment title box, and I instantly have access to emojis. And then those, for the most part, translate really well over into mobile devices if your kids are using their phones or you're using iPads or tablets. And then what's nice is this emoji, depending on how you set up your assignment, can transfer over into the name of any files that your students create within the assignments. So if they create a Google Doc within the Shapes project, that Google Doc takes on the name of the assignment, and that emoji will carry over into that Google Doc as well, because that's just the way Classroom works, amazingly. So I highly recommend, give this a try. Use emojis in your assignment titles to help make it a lot easier for students to navigate and find the things that they need to access for class. And of course, it's always a good idea for teachers to plan ahead. I know sometimes we get lost in the chaos, and it's a little difficult to stay ahead of the game when it comes to our class and assignments and projects and things like that. There's two really great tools built into Classroom. These are new. They've been around for a while, but highly recommend you take advantage of them. And they are the ability to schedule posts and also save posts as drafts. That way you don't have to rush things in the morning to get ready. You can set it up the night before. You can set it up on Friday after school to be ready for Monday. And you can actually schedule posts to automatically drop into the stream at a specific date and time, even down to the minute. For me, like, our periods don't exactly end at 10 o'clock or 10:30. right? Sometimes they end at 10:31 or 10:32. And so being able to schedule those my assignments at a very specific time makes it really easy for me to plan those things ahead of time. And I can show you really quick where that is in the assignment. Jump back here. So here, when you're setting up an assignment or even just a regular post, instead of assigning it, you have a drop-down menu that allows you to schedule. And from there, you can choose your date and you can specify your time, again, down to the minute. Right? And then when you schedule that, it won't automatically show in the stream. It'll fall under your saved posts at the top of the stream here. And there's a scheduled posts category. And it's telling me when, what date and what time it's scheduled to post. And when it hits 10:32 tomorrow morning, this will automatically get fed into the live stream for my students to access without me having to worry about coming back and assigning it at the exact moment that I want them to have access. Right? So schedule posts, you can even set assignments and posts up ahead of time, and maybe you don't want to schedule it, but you just want to have it sort of preloaded and ready to go. There's also the option to save as a draft. And when you do that, it creates a separate drafts column. So these aren't set to release at any specific time, but you're able to jump into your drafts and open them back up. You can make tweaks and adjustments to them or finish the settings and then assign it or schedule it whenever you're ready. So doing those two things can go a long way in helping you to plan ahead and make sure that things are ready to go at the start of class or at whatever time you need it to be available for your students. Of course, you're not alone out there, and we don't expect you to figure all this out by yourself. So there's some great teacher professional development opportunities, lots of resources out there. And the Google Classroom team has released a brand new online PD repository for teachers to help you get started and to improve your Google Classroom skills. And so they've got this brand new training site for your first day of classroom that contains just a bunch of really great stuff. A lot of video tutorials, tip sheets that are downloadable and printable, and just a lot of, and then a variety of guides that help walk you through different things that you can do in classroom. And you can find links to those specific resources here on slide 20. I'll just kind of take you through a quick walkthrough here of the new what's new in Classroom Training Center. So this was just released at the beginning of the school year, a couple weeks ago. You got some great resources here. Of course, you have some video tutorials for the basics, setting up a class, getting your students in there, the basics of assigning work, all linked up here as YouTube videos. And then down below that, you have what's called the Teacher's Lounge, which are full of just amazing tips and tricks by fellow educators. Most of this has been curated by teachers, not just from the classroom team. And so, teachers know it best, right? And they use it on a daily basis, and they've sort of figured out the ropes and have learned the best ways to take advantage of the different tools and features built in Classroom. And there's some really great videos here, and they're really short videos for the most part, just informing you and teaching you about the different things you can do. For example, reusing your syllabus every year, not having to recreate and reinvent the wheel per se. That's certainly possible in Classroom. Staying organized in Drive. Here's a video about that Guardian summary feature I was talking about earlier. What you can do with the All About tab that's in Classroom. So lots of great videos, and they're promising to add more to this collection as the year moves on. And then below that, you have some handy guides. These are downloadable materials for your physical classroom, right? So these are in PDF form. You click on them. Of course, you can download them to your computer. Make them poster size if you want to, right? And it's a step-by-step guide to walk you through different things that you can do classroom again. So depending on your learning style, where everyone's not built the same and everyone doesn't learn the same, as I'm sure we're all aware with our students. And so some of us learn the best by watching a short video. Others of us need that physically printed step-by-step guide in our hand so that we can go more at our own pace. And so those options are definitely available to you. And then of course, there are a series of live classroom training sessions like the one you're watching right now. And there are certainly a handful of other YouTube live videos that are scheduled, and you can visit the calendar and check out when those are coming out. They're being produced by fellow educators as well, just like myself. And then of course, there's some extra help, some extra credit down below, places where you can get more support. There's the FAQ page, the help form, which I'm a top contributor on, and helping to answer your questions related to the classroom and G Suite for Education. And then if you want to pursue more PD, there's lots of great opportunities for other PD via the training center, self-paced courses and things like that. And with that, I just want to say mahalo and thank you to all of you for watching live. And if you're watching this after the fact, thanks for checking out this video. And you can catch all my resources, this slide deck, you can find at my website, edtechnocation.com, and give me a shout out on Twitter at edtechnocation. And finishing a little early, and so I'm just going to jump into the chat and see if there are any questions that are lingering in the chat here. I appreciate all of you joining me and sharing via the chat here. I see Peggy's doing a lot of sharing too. She found that emoji keyboard for me. Thanks, Peggy, for sharing that. I appreciate that. Emoji 1. Definitely one of my fave Chrome extensions. Oh yes, and Anita's sharing in the chat that the next set of YouTube sessions are going to be every Tuesday for the next 3 weeks, I believe. So feel free to check those out. They're all in that calendar that's linked up on the trainer website there for the first day of classroom. If you have any further questions, be happy to answer them. I see being shared in the chat. Just a reminder on the hashtags, hashtag first day of classroom, of course, hashtag Google Classroom and hashtag Google EDU. Those are quite, they're pretty active hashtags on Twitter. Feel free to search for those and use them in your own. And again, it's not on this one. Maybe I'll jump back here. Talking about access to the slide deck, it's down here in the bottom right of this particular slide. bit.ly/gclassedu will take you to my slide deck, as well as a ton of other resources related to Classroom. And feel free to explore my website as well. All right, everyone. So just want to say thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. If you've started school, good luck with the school year. And if you're jumping into Google Classroom for the first time, good luck. You're not alone. So check out those hashtags. Check out the slide deck. Check out the training center. Lots of great opportunities to connect and learn. Lots of great resources on there. And just want to say thank you to all of you watching live. I really appreciate you joining me today. And have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And have an amazing EduAwesome school year. Thanks, everyone.